Okay, we're here with Will Sansom, who's with Contagious. Will has just come off the stage with an illuminating presentation where you talk. I think if there was a Stephen Hawking's award, you would win it, because you were talking about time and relativity and how brands are using time in an interesting way.
Yeah, precisely that. I mean, it's interesting because I've spoken at a few conferences like this, and I typically always talk about new technologies and exciting work, and I wanted to try and flip that on its head and actually go back to basics, because I think that, you know, we all know there's amazing new technologies and touch points you can use as a marketer, but I think that the more saturated digitally the industry becomes, the more important it is to get back to basics and think of the very fundamental things that still exist in a consumer's life, time being one of them. And digital technology is having a huge effect on certainly our concept of time and temporality, how time passes. And I think that the reason I wanted to talk about it is because if brands are smart with it, they can actually find great new ways to connect with us in our everyday lives.
Because you were talking about the way that they play with time, the way they create a sense of urgency around time.
Yeah.
And also I think how brands are giving us back more time by being more efficient and helping us be more efficient in our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first thing I talked about was digital urgency, which is the kind of a way of using technology to create kind of a window of almost kind of panic and kind of, you know, limited opportunity for people, which is actually a great way to get them to kind of commit to a purchase or, you know, to engagement. And it's quite fun and it's quite exciting, and we're seeing lots of different brands do this, everyone from FMCG companies to retailers. It's about saying, you know, there's great value we can offer you, but it's only available here and in a specific moment. It's a great way to kind of drive people to do something specific. But yeah, slightly more constructive, I guess, is the idea of helping people create more time in their own lives. And I talked about augmenting media for people as a way of doing that, you know, not just expecting them to consume media in one specific silo, but actually playing to existing consumer behaviours, which is to consume multiple media platforms at any one point in time, and then using that to deliver more value, whether it's in terms of, you know, interactivity or, you know, content or discounts or whatever to people. You know, like I say, people are doing this already, so it makes sense that brands kind of play to that, I think.
Of all the case studies, you gave some fascinating case studies. What was your favourite? The Domino one was quite cool.
Domino's one is really fun. So yeah, just to recap how that works. Basically, they offered people a really, really big discount. That discount was only available for 0.01 seconds, and there was a specific time you had to click on. So there was a counter on the Domino's Facebook page, and at that specific time you had to click the button to get it right. And if you managed to time it perfectly, then you got that huge discount. So it was really, really smart, because they had loads of people waiting a long time. They're engaging people over a long period of time, waiting for it to happen, but then the specific moment of engagement was very short. Technically, the sale happened for just 8.7 seconds. The whole campaign was like 8.7 seconds in theory. And they managed to increase their Facebook fans by about 150%. I think they overtook Pizza Hut as the most popular pizza delivery service on Facebook, and that's important because Domino's, 50% of their sales now come through social networks in Japan. So again, 8.7 seconds, you know, you make time elastic in that sense, and it can really drive business for you. So that was a good one.
And the other thing you talked about was real moments versus digital moments.
Yeah.
That was quite an interesting concept.
I find this fascinating. So I think it's one of those things, we've all been in it, situations where something amazing and analog and personal is happening, you know, at a lunch with friends, or an example I showed was of a birthday party when you bring out a birthday cake for the person in question, but everyone's filming it on their phones, or they're documenting it, or they're taking self-shots, you know, to put on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and so on and so forth. And you look at it and you think, God, why do we do this? What is this compulsion to behave in this way? And it's almost as if people are presented with two choices. One, we put down our phones and experience it in analog for 30 seconds. It's like, right, just going to get a pure analog experience. Or we film it and document it with these devices, and then we're packaging up that 30 seconds so we can then use it in the future and potentially get hours of engagement with it in the future by putting it on social networks, by reading the comments people are putting on it, by commenting on those comments, you know. It's an interesting thing. It's like we're sacrificing the present for the future. And it's an interesting process, and we're doing it now, and there's a compulsion to do it. So I think the implications of that for brands are really interesting, because people are being elastic with their own time, but I don't think people don't want to experience things in an analog way. So I think if brands can find a way to almost handle that documenting kind of experience themselves, let people experience it there in the analog, but also, you know, have the brands do that for them in the future, so they've got it for reference. I think there's an interesting potential there. But it's it's a fascinating process, the way that we work and the way that we're now prioritising the future over the present almost.
Will, thank you very much, and welcome to Singapore.
Thank you very much.
Good, cheers.